Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is It's a Lamb Back. Ephraim is joined to idols, spiritual parallels from the past and now. And this is a video that was put up by the young elder Aisha Yar from the head of the North Carolina camp, the other North Carolina camp. And I watched the video, and you know, the Spirit had me do some videos years ago when we were on Daily Motion, and pretty much I covered this. Ephraim joined the idols. You know, I did like a couple of videos on it. I'm not sure how many, and just to show that the so-called Latin tribes, you know, this fits them to a T. Now, what I want to go into is two precepts. The book of Hosea, chapter 5. Chapter 4. Hosea, chapter 4. And verse 17, it says, I'll start at 16. For Israel slideth back as a backsliding heifer. Yeah, and the main thing that the Most High got mad at Jake for was for the idol worship. Now Yahweh Bashem Yahushai will feed them as a lamb in a large place. This large place is here in America. You know, this is the large place that it's speaking about. You know, and you had the whole northern kingdom from Canada all the way down to South America and everything in between. And you see how, you know, vast this land is and the shit that Jake was doing. The reason why Jake came to this side of the world was to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. But what did they do when they got here? Eventually, they went right back to the same shit they were doing that got them in trouble in the first place. Therefore, later on in the history, the Lord sent the Spaniards, you know, and then the other Edomites, and you know the rest pretty much. Those of you that have been studying, those that don't know the history of how the so-called white man came to this side of the world, which are the Edomites, they pillaged, destroyed, raped, murdered, just did all kind of savagery to the Israelites that were here. All right, it says Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone. All right, now Ephraim, you know, represents the so-called Puerto Ricans, the tribe of Ephraim, but it also represents the northern kingdom in general. It says Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone. Their drink is sour. What was the drink supposed to be? The law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, which is supposed to be sweet. It became sour. How? By committing these acts of idolatry. They have committed whoredom continually. Her rulers with shame do love, give ye. Right. And that's why even among the so-called Latin tribes, when you go to the Pentecostal churches and these different churches that are run by Ephraimite pastors and, you know, Simeonites and all, you know, different other so-called Latin tribe pastors, they are a bunch of scumbags too, just like the Jake ones are, just like the Edomite ones are. The wind had bound her up in her wings. Yeah, because pretty much the wind is a representation of being scattered, but also of the, you know, of the different philosophies that Jake is found in, you know. And when you look at Jake, I mean, they're all over the place. You have some that are Roman Catholic, some that are Pentecostal, some that are Protestant, you know, different types of Christians. I mean, Episcopalian, you know, you name it, they're in it. It says, and they shall be ashamed because of their sacrifices. And how did that happen? When Esau came to this side of the world and kicked them off of that horse and put them in captivity under them and fed them with that plantation Christianity. And now Jake is all over that thing like a cheap slut. on a Saturday night, as Elder Apostle Kabar used to say. Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone. So the idols are these different idols. Now, this here, which I forgot to put this in the description box, those of you that want, I'm gonna put it in here if you want to check it out. It's a study which you have to make an account in order to access certain things. I just want certain points. I'm not gonna make no account. I don't know what it entails, if you gotta, what you gotta give them, if it's a free account or whatever the case may be. But the part that I want to go to is here where it says Taino gods and goddesses. So already there that, where it's going. It says, because Taino culture was entirely decimated along with the Taino people. It wasn't entirely decimated. All right. The culture was, the land, the people are still around. It says there is not much known today about the Taino mythology, Taino religion, and the Taino gods. They don't know too much about it, but they did find some artifacts. The Taino people were polytheistic, right? That's the tribe of Ephraim. You have Manasseh, because the Tainos were all over those different islands. You also had the Arawaks. You had the Carib, and then on the mainland you had Incas, Aztecs, so on and so forth. So the Taino people were polytheistic, which they were one. They believed in one power, which is the Most High Yahweh, and they had I guess, for lack of better words, traditions that were passed down from how Yahweh came to this side of the world to visit them. Because when you go to the Taino language, you have Kwamikina, which is, I believe that's Lord or something along those lines. I haven't looked that up in a while. But they became polytheistic because when Jay came to the side of the world, they were here to worship Yahweh, the Most High Yahweh. Worshipping a pantheon of many different gods. Why? Because they were joined to idols, ancestors and spirits, which they call semi. Now, semi are miniature gods, miniature statuettes of their different god, the different gods. And the first time I heard this term here, semi, was from the elder Bishop Sakaran. He's the first one that introduced this to me. The semis. You go to images. Let's go back before. There are multiple matches for semi, term used by Taino people on sculptural object that may have housed a spirit. Right, semi or semi is a term used by the Taino people who lived in the Antilles before European contact. It can refer to an immaterial spiritual force related to deities and ancestors or to a sculptural object that may have housed a spirit. The term is linguistically related to a quality similar to sweetness. All right, now when you go to the images, it gives you the different images of these different semis. They had gods and goddesses that they worship, as we've read before in this, right? Well, actually, did we read it in here? Let me see. The word semi was also used to refer to icons and fetishes of the gods, most often made from carved rocks. The Tainos believed in two main gods, Yukahu, who was a god of cassava, the main food crop of the Taino, and Atabe, the mother of Yukahu and the goddess of fertility. So that's the mother and child thing. Going back to Semiramis, Tammuz, which they tried to incorporate that into, Yahushua and Mary, which that has nothing to do with that. That's why when Sarnetta came down and he was bringing Polite, down there with him, his first thing that he came out of his mouth with when he came to us was, about the mother and child thing, and we said that's not scriptural, and that quickly shut him down. They also had many other deities such as Wabansek, the goddess of hurricanes, and Taori Guayaba, the god of the dead. So you get the idea. And this is a wooden semi. Sometimes they were made out of wood. Sometimes they were made out of rock. All right, and then it gives you more, and you see how this is, faded out because you have to create an account to unlock that. And like I said, I'm not really interested in a whole lot of this. I just wanted to get the main points, which shows you that they had more, they were worshiping different gods. All right. And the scripture says Ephraim is joined to what? Idols, which is what? Plural. Let him alone. And that's why they fell under the Assyrians. And eventually they fell to the Spaniards. All right. Now, the other scripture I wanted to deal with is in the book of Ezekiel 8, right? But what I want to show you here is that this is dealing with Judah. All right. This is dealing with the southern kingdom. I'm going to read the first verse. Ezekiel 8:1. And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I sat in mine house, and the elders of Judah sat before me, that the hand of the Lord power fell there upon me. So this is Judah. This is the southern kingdom. All right. So this applies to them. Now, let's see something. Let's see. Okay, this is I don't know what that's all about. Now, when you go into the houses of, old school Ephraimites, they would have something like this. A whole bunch of gods and, like little saints and all of that. They would pray to them. They would offer food to them and all of that. It was a lot of mess. So you see how they had many different ones. When we go to now, Ephraim was doing that. And the tribes were doing that before Judah, Benjamin, and Levi got here. When Judah, Benjamin, and Levi got here, they brought something called the Orisha gods. Let me see. All right, this is the Orisha. All right. And when they brought this over, right, from, Yoruba African Orishas, when they brought this over from the land of Ham, when they came over to this side of the world, guess what happened? It fell right in line with Ephraim and the other tribes. And that's why you have a lot of so-called Puerto Ricans, Cubans, so on and so forth, that worship all these different gods. All right, you have Chango, which is the main one, and they worship that. All right, and you see they have all the different names. If you type in Yoruba Orishas, you'll get all the different names of all those different gods. And Jake, the Ephraimites and the other tribes here fell right in line with it. Why? Because they're joined unto idols, which they got from who? The southern kingdom. And what did the southern kingdom do? Ezekiel 8:9. And he said unto me, go in and behold the wicked abominations that they do here, because they were worshiping idols. And these were the top elders among Judah, and they were doing this in secret. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things and abominable beast, and all the idols of the house of Israel, what? Portrayed upon the wall round about. And when you go to the different houses of the so-called Latin tribes, you're going to see this all over the place. They got a wall with saints on it. When you look at their vehicles, I don't know if they do it anymore. The newer generation, I don't think they do it. But the older generation, you will go and they will have these, these little statuettes of so-called saints, glued, crazy glued to their dashboard, And there were different ones for different things. And when the Southern Kingdom came here and they brought the Orishas, they also brought a way of worshiping them. Blowing the cigar smoke and just different things that they would do, and Ephraim fell right in line with it. Because you may have those that say, well, the only reason why they worshiping that is because the Southern Kingdom brought it over here. Yeah, the Southern Kingdom brought it over here. But they were already doing this prior to the Orishas coming over here, because they had something called semis, which we just saw a picture of the semis. Let me see if I go back. That's the same, that's the stuff that they use. And then you had, let's see, semis. These are the semis that they were worshiping prior to the Southern Kingdom bringing the Orishas over here, that religion over here. All right. So it goes on to say, so it says that portrayed upon the wall round about. Now, let's go. Every form of creeping things and abominable beasts and all idols, gala wall. Let's look up the word idols. In this case, it's gala wall. Goes back to the Hebrew word galal. Idols in general. This is properly a log as round. So they had different types of idols. Some would be carved out of wood. In the case of Ephraim, they had wooden ones. They had stone ones. It says the idols of the house. See? So you had the Ephraimites that put these idols in their houses. Portrayed. Now the word portrayed is chakwa. Chakwa means to cut, carve, cut in. To engrave, cut a limit. Portrayed. Let's see what this says. Depict someone or something in a work of art or literature, right? So you had walls that they would paint. Then you also had, they would paint the different gods, but then you also had this little statuettes that they would make and put up there to worship, and they had different idols for different things, all right? So, okay, see, carved figure on wall. See, carved figure on wall. And it fits right hand in hand with what Jake is doing, or what they were doing back then. I haven't been to Puerto Rico since 1981, so I don't know what the hell they're doing out there now. Right, you could draw them, or you could see, to hack, to engrave, to carve, to draw, to paint. All right. So they got this particular part, the so-called Orisha, from the Southern Kingdom. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things and abominable beasts and all the idols of the house of Israel portrayed upon the wall round about. And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel, and in the midst of them stood Jaazaniah, the son of Shaphan, with every man his censer in his hand, and thick cloud of incense went up. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chambers of his mad imagery. See, the chambers of his imagery. For they say, the Lord Yahweh seeth not, Yahweh hath forsaken the earth. Let me look up this word, chambers. Let me see if it says it in one word. Chambers of imagery. Chambers is the word chadar. Chamber, room, parlor, innermost or inward part. So it's a room dedicated just solely to those so-called gods. And then you have the word imagery, which is the word mashakayath, right? Mashakayath. Showpiece, figure, see, imagination, image, idol, picture. carved figure of idols. So that's what they had. Just like you see the Ephraimites had, and some of that they got from Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. All right. It says, he said unto me, turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. And this is why you have the mother and child, thing or worship, which goes back to Semiramis, Tammuz, and Nimrod. And different empires had different names for it. Isis, Osiris, and Set, I believe it was, in the Egyptian Empire. And then each empire, you had Sumerian Empire, and they all had their different names for the same gods. It's the same goddess worship. All right. So Ephraim is joined unto idols, let him alone. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.